Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of KHANTEHNT!
KHANTEHNT!
Boom, 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 I put a jujutsu spell on you to go on over to subscribestar.com/KHANTEHNT, pledge $10 for bonus episodes, and also, here's an advertisement for shirts. KHANTEHNT! Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTEHNT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything!
KHANTEHNT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTEHNT logo.
Or this!
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTEHNT! New designs will be coming all the time, so always stay tuned on that Teespring store and look for fresh designs. They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTEHNT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTEHNT. KHANTEHNT!
変わんねえよ言ったよなぶっ殺してやるって
Jujutsu Kaisen, our best friend favorite anime. Digi, how much did you love it?
I hate this show.
Yeah?
I hate it. I hate this show.
You hate the now, you know what? You know what's interesting? I'm feeling more favorable about this show than I did before. I thought this was a better chunk of episodes.
Better chunk?
Then yeah, I mean, there was things happen really fast. You know, where we meet characters, we're expected to care about them really fast when they're killed like instantly. You know, some of it was done with some elegance, some decent characterization that I enjoyed, and some pretty cool action at times. And you know what? Let me just say for the record, I wanted to extend an olive branch to people who had felt that I, at least, you can speak for yourself, but that I was shitting on Jujutsu Kaisen last time too much, and that we've been memeing on it ever since in like every episode, frankly. But for the record, you know, I did look up how Gojo Satoru's powers work. I'm not an idiot, people. A lot of people were dabbing on us, saying like, you guys don't fucking understand these powers. They're so deep and complex. Look, the point about all that stuff...
I literally don't care, by the way. I don't care.
Digi doesn't care. I just wanted to say, it was Xeno's paradox. And see, I said this in our Chainsaw Man episode, but I wanted to say it now in our Jujutsu Kaisen episode, because the funny thing is, Satoru has this like infinity power that we saw him use against a demon or whatever. That power, like it's described as like all the knowledge of the cosmos, the infinite, is like placed into the head of an enemy, which paralyzes them because when you know everything, you can't do anything.
Think of Halloween.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
As we learned in Chainsaw Man.
In Jujutsu Kaisen, it's the...
If you haven't read Chainsaw Man or watched our videos about Chainsaw Man, highly recommended.
I just want to say on that point that it's the exact same power that a character in Chainsaw Man has. Yeah. It's just done in so much more entertaining a way in Chainsaw Man. So, like, it's not that Jujutsu Kaisen is, like, terrible. It's that it's kind of bare bones tropey and hasn't added much that's, like, wowed me. But, like, something like Chainsaw Man takes those same elements but adds, like, a characterizing spin to them that I enjoy more. So, that's the thing I'm trying to say. I want Jujutsu Kaisen to live up to its potential.
Even just thinking about the amount of stuff that would have happened in Chainsaw Man in the equivalent of 13 episodes, I don't feel like anything has actually happened in this show yet.
We've, like, met the main villains, and, like, one character has died of note.
We've met a villain.
We've met a villain and some of the squad. I mean, that's, you know.
Established, like, this 4 episodes, all that really got accomplished is establishing a villain.
Correct. Yep.
They fight this villain for the bulk of these episodes, don't manage to beat him. None of the fighting matters at all.
Well, you know, no one is a bigger champion of fuck fights than me. But I mean, you know, my usual take of like skipping fights, that usually applies to like live action stuff. Anime usually is visually interesting to watch, at least like how a fight is handled. And these were handled pretty well. Okay.
All they do is knock each other through the environment. go out the window.
I mean,
knock into the
true.
place. We
I
run
mean-
around, beat each other up, big punches.
It's fun and enjoyable, at least in this section, I think, to watch a character like learning how their powers work, which we do get some of in here. And I mean, my boy Nanami, he really stood out in this section.
the only halfway decent character in the show.
And
Like,
I'm
the
not
only one I
saying
could
he's
even-
10 out of 10.
Like, this is the only character who, like, when he first showed up, I was
Yeah.
like, all right, this guy actually left an impression.
Yeah.
I would like to see his story.
And we got it.
We get his backstory. It's fine. He's
See, even that was like fine.
It was
and
fine.
It hit a sweet spot for me that we'll get to, but it was nothing amazing.
It was even done at a poor time because, like, so
Yeah.
I guess the bad guy is fighting this dude to like test his own powers,
Right.
to like figure out how far he can go with his like morphing soul shit.
He can control souls and stuff. Yeah.
So he traps this dude inside of his like reality marble or whatever, which
Yeah.
is a bunch of these hands. That was like the only cool imagery in this entire fucking show was the hand scene. But
Looked
even
nice.
that, like, I watched this before reading the next arc of Chainsaw Man. Like
Yeah.
thinking about the imagery in that, just any panel of that.
to be fair,
is
maybe
better looking than this
maybe
whole
the
fucking
manga
thing, like-
makes things look cool.
It's hard to
I
say.
don't know.
But the hands thing was kind of cool. But like, it then just goes straight into this guy's backstory, and the way that this is done cuts all tension from this scene because like there are times where like a backstory will be given right before a character is about to die. Normally it would be like an emotional one that has something
Yeah.
to do with the scenario. This like starts off with him like everyday life, like him going to the convenience store, establishing like what was he like. He was
Right,
a businessman. And then we like see a little bit of him interacting with other people and learn like what it was about that changed his worldview that made him become a demon hunter. So it feels like this character is getting introduced, which makes me
Yeah.
think he's definitely not going to die. Like just the way that this scene was played out, it felt to me like they wanted me to think that he was going to die after getting a backstory cutscene, but then instead it's like
Yeah,
a
I
backstory
agree.
cutscene and then he just gets saved right afterwards, and it's like, well, okay, this didn't seem like the right time for this backstory cutscene because I was not convinced that it had that dramatic irony going into it. It felt like I was weirdly being tricked into trying to think he was going to die or something.
Well, every story is about manipulating our emotions one way or another, right? To get us to believe things or not. And it's about, does it achieve, something satisfactory on the way that, like, doesn't make you annoyed with the story or strain believability too much. And so in that sense, while I don't disagree with anything you've said, when it comes to this guy's backstory specifically, in that moment, like, yes, we cut away from the action, but we cut out at a moment when, like, something big has happened. Because now is when, like, reality marble, like, tech is important to know how it works. Because the idea with reality marbles is that once it's formed, if you have your enemy inside, they, like, quote, can't dodge. Like, whatever they try to do, it will hit and probably kill you unless you cancel it out in some, meaningful or important way. And this guy doesn't seem to be on that level where he could compete against something like that. And, uniquely, that guy's power, what's his name? Yoshino? No, that's not it. Oh, God, who fucking cares? Mahito, right, the villain Mahito. A weird spirit of humans or
Don't even
something.
remember. Like,
I know, it doesn't
I literally
matter.
can't remember the main character's name. I just keep thinking Denji. I just keep thinking Denji. I can't get it
There
right.
are a lot of similarities between the two. Okay, so Mahito's power is, like, it uniquely affects humans. Any human that he touches their soul, like, it's over. Like, he'll turn them into a fucking little shriveled up freak or explode them or whatever he wants because that's his power. And this guy is just like a human. So he can resist him a little bit, but nothing, like, once he's in the reality marble, this guy's just gonna touch you with his hands and you're gonna die. And so it's at that moment, when he's trapped in the marble, we get the flashback of
And like
him in life.
I can think of moments in shonen where like guy like this, like ancillary character kind of important, like gets trapped, has flashback, and that's when they unlock their real power because they like remember this emotional moment and then they power up.
You're right. I liked this more. In fact, much more than something like that because of one very specific reason that I'll get to. So, I mean, his backstory, first of all, it hits sweet spots for me. He was already a salaryman. We see that he's like a Patrick Bateman of anime. He's just like, not exactly. He's just like a stockbroker.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck. He's just working these businesses. He's just like, I'm making money for people and I don't care.
Yes, one of the best lines does come from this part of what inspires him to quit is specifically that he realizes his job should not naturally exist.
Right,
That he
right.
just moves money around. He's just like a Wall Street kind of guy, I guess, or broker or something. And so like when he sees
Might be like trade securities or something like that. I don't fucking know.
He says to this girl at the coffee shop, like, your job is literally more useful than mine, but I get paid more because of the way this society is structured, and that's fucked up, so I'm going to go do demon hunter work. Which, when I thought about it, I was kind of like, that might be a little bit weirder if demon hunters weren't like a thing that you can just go do. Are they? Is it like a secret? Like
it is a secret, but with him, he specifically says like, I left the school. He had clearly been at the school for some time, decided to leave to probably just make money because he didn't believe in it or something anymore. And now he's coming back at like the end of that story. That seems to be it.
That makes sense.
By the way, this whole section really reminds me of, it's like the exact same moral as some movie I can't remember the name of, but we'll put here on screen. I will find it in the interim and put it up. But there's just like this little backstory about like how people in finance can feel like detached from life and just not feel like what they're doing makes sense or matters to anyone. It's just making the rich richer. It's not bringing people like happiness, which, I mean, I totally understand.
Yeah.
So I really like this part, frankly. This coffee shop girl who's just kind of nice to him as he's just going about his day. She's like struggling to get by in this tiny little shop. She's got a demon on her shoulder. It's weighing her down. It's hurting her just a little bit. Not like causing her to die or anything. She's not in danger, so he ignores it. But then one day, he just has had enough and he comes in, he sees she's got the devil on her, and he's like, man, like, in the past, I thought I could exercise it, but it would like be embarrassing if people think I'm like a fucking weirdo shaman or some religious nut or something. He's just like, fuck it, I can help people. He destroys it, and he just calls up the dudes. And as much as I love cutthroat capitalists who commodify human life, he is like, all right, I want to do something actually meaningful with my life again. Right. I'm going to get back in the fray. And the final touch on the story is we cut back to him in the present, in the reality marble, and knowing that it's over. He can't beat this guy. He just says, the line was something like, I have no regrets. And just the little arc of this guy accepting death, feeling that he lived a life well lived. You know, he's an older guy. He's not middle-aged maybe, but like he's had life, probably had love and loss and went through a whole range of human experience. That one little nugget where he like accepted death because he felt he was doing something meaningful. I mean, frankly, it had more soul in it than everything else in Jujutsu Kaisen combined. But then, and this wasn't even bad, Yuji breaks in from the outside, because did you guys know that reality marbles are weaker on the outside than on the inside? Isn't that convenient? Okay, fine. And conveniently, Yuji has the unique power needed to get them both out of the situation. Okay, I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the big villain or any of that shit. What I cared about was that I liked this guy's backstory. It was cool, and it had something like of moral value, of like, yeah, you should try to do something that gives you satisfaction in some form or another. Maybe you like being a Wall Street guy and you take your money and you do something good with it. Okay, cool. Or be a demon hunter and hunt demons and make people's lives better immediately. Also cool, also good. And I liked it. What can I say? Nanami, best character.
I would agree with that.
Now that being said, low ceiling, low
floor.
Low floor, yeah.
This character, like, that scene with him saying the stuff about, like, how, you know, some jobs don't really add value and stuff is cool. It's a good black pill. I think this show has a lot of black pills and a lot of aphorisms that it wants to dispense on its audience. It has lots of world advice, lots of wisdom that it wants to dispense on the character. There's always people, like, saying things and giving advice and shit. But I really hate that. Because it's not that the black pills are wrong. Some of them are correct. It's just that, like, it's not connected to the story. It's just, like, the story is there. And then, like, when main character guy's going through something, people will tell him, like, oh, well, you know, you gotta man up in, like, this or that way. And he's like, oh, I guess I do. And, like, it's just so dialogue-driven. Well, like, we're just kind of told that the character is developing because people are giving him advice and he's taking it. Like, it's not like he's coming to these realizations, like, through the plot guiding him there. It's just like literally people tell him like what he should be feeling about stuff.
Well, how about at least one that was a little bit better than that? This astounding moral that bullying is bad. Bullying is very bad, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you know that. You shouldn't literally put out cigarettes on your classmate's forehead.
No, that's bad.
That's not good.
So, okay,
don't do it.
This bullied kid, at the start of episode 10, the first one we watched,
Yoshino.
He's hanging out in this movie club, and all I could think was like, thank God this fucking dork's getting bullied because he's the most boring fuck in the world. Like, the stuff he's saying, the amazing conversation that the film club is having about these movies is like, oh, number 1, that one wasn't so good, but numbers 2 and 4 were good. Wasn't that, oh, I really wish number 3 had been better like number 2, but number 4 is great.
You fool. They're setting up for the amazing emotional connection where Yuji also has seen movies, and they can relate on that.
Yeah, and they have the same conversation about, oh, well, 2 was meaningful, but 4 wasn't that great. And just like, good Lord, like, again, the conversations in The Day I Became God were better than this. Characters were actually, like, having natural feeling conversations about movies, not because we have to establish this thing for this character to connect with this character.
That's the thing. It's the transparency with which they're done that's annoying. Yeah. Like, I've had many conversations about how, Final Fantasy VII is a classic, Final Fantasy VIII, a fall.
Yeah.
Like, these numbers don't mean anything to anyone who hasn't, like, played all these games, but I say things like this all the time. So, like, I get it.
Everyone hates it when you do
and they do hate it when I do. That's absolutely true. But the thing is, like, I'm not a character in a world where, like, my feelings about Final Fantasy or whatever are, like, informing the plot in a straightforward, obvious, dull as fucking rocks way.
Oh my God, it was so they're boring conversation. Then the generic dumb bullies show up and beat them up. And I'm like, okay,
that's
whatever.
what they are.
So then, like,
by the way, I got a little bit of props. It was a little clever to have that character with his, like, hair over his face. It covers his cigarette burns. I was like, character design, I get it, makes sense. That makes sense why you would have this kind of anime hair. I respect that you did a thing that was kind of cool. Good job, Jujutsu Kaisen.
So that guy, he meets with the bad dude. I keep wanting to call him
Mahito is his name.
Mahito. I keep wanting to call him Makishima. He's like Stein crossed with Makishima from Psycho Pass. But not as good of a character design as either one of them.
No.
He's frankly fugly, in my opinion.
He's not great.
But he and the kid have this dialogue where they're both just saying pretentious shit at each other. Where the kid, like, hold on, I wrote some of this down. Okay. Yeah, so they have this conversation where they're babbling about how humans need to have excuses in order to live.
Oh, right.
Like, stuff like, they just say lots of stuff like that just doesn't mean anything.
This was like the why it's good to be a school shooter conversation. Yeah, I mean, nihilism was the name of the game. Nothing means anything.
That was the only good, I mean, like, again, there are some good black pills in here. It's not good dialogue. Like, there's a bunch of shit aphorisms that mean nothing, like humans have to make excuses.
Life has no inherent value and shit like that.
That was the only part I did agree with, where I was like, okay, well, that is true. Like,
depends on how you look at it.
It's true, there's no inherent value in things, but that doesn't, there's no conclusion to draw from that. It's just the facts. Like, now granted, that is the smarter character saying that. So he's
using this information to manipulate a sad person who wants to hate the world, so.
Right. Like, the conversation is supposed to be annoying, I think, in the sense that, like,
I disagree. No, you're giving it too much credit there.
You think so?
There's no way they intentionally made annoying conversations what editor in Shonen Jump would approve an annoying conversation on purpose?
I guess not that it's deliberately annoying, but like the character is saying things, like the younger character is deliberately being written to say things that are wrong. Or that are like that are misinterpretations
a warped view of the world or whatever. Yeah.
And then the other guy's feeding into that, but more of what he says has some basis to it. But it's more, but not all. And none of it makes either of them interesting. Like, it just makes them both, like, one is just a manipulative bad guy, and the other one's a dumb fuck kid. And like, by that point in the story, I can't have any emotional investment in this kid. He's just like too dumb, too easily manipulated. I guess not a character. Like, before you get to whatever you're about to say. There is another good black pill in here where our kid goes to school and rants to himself. The teacher thinks that the 3 bullies that he's, I think, murdered by this point.
No, they never get murdered.
Oh, they don't?
No, they all survive.
They're like missing, right?
They just don't. Only one bully gets like focus.
Okay. Well, they're like not at school for whatever reason. The principal or a teacher comes up to the kid and is like, "Oh, where are your friends? Why aren't they here?" And he has this whole internal realization of like, what? You think they're my friends? Teachers are so dumb. It's because they start off in school and they just continue to go to school, so they never experience the real world. That's why teachers are all man children. And I was like, 100% correct, but nothing to do with the plot of
But
this
that doesn't justify killing all your friends
Right.
at school or shooting up the place.
It's just it's just really funny how often like I feel like characters just start talking about like this is the state of the world, this is how people be,
Yeah.
you know, and
But with him, it all serves a purpose to justify, like his role in the story as like the black pilled, like manipulated by the bad guys to do bad things. Makes sense, especially for a show about curses and stuff, because he's obviously cursing the world a lot. So on that character, I'm gonna call him Junpei Yoshino, whatever, Junpei, I guess. He is introduced into the story to be the sad boy manipulated by the bad guys, and the way that he's given his powers, he's manipulated to be like, oh, the world is so bad, there's no redeemable qualities. Here, take this like poison power, I'll give you this like jellyfish thing, go fight your friends. Juxtaposed against, like Junpei comes into his life, and they have Yuji, right? Yuji, main character guy, and like, okay, that's like the happy guy. Everything could work out good. You don't have to work it out bad, but he's being manipulated. Okay, so the two fight, right? The two end up fighting because the bad guy's manipulating him into doing so, and Yuji's here to stop him from killing all his friends. Bless you.
thank you.
And the ultimate result is, Yuji would win, but then the bad guy just kills him. He just turns him into a little monster man from which there's apparently no recovery, and he like dies, because when your soul gets warped, he dies. You die like immediately afterward. Okay, that's fine. So, okay, what I like about this, and that character, as far as we know, is still dead, is not coming back. This seems to be it. The one element I want to give the show credit for, and why I did feel a little bit of attachment to him was, historically, I have issues with openings or endings of shows revealing meta things that shouldn't be the way they are. Famously, the show Gurren Lagann opens with a bunch of cool characters, including Kamina. The episode after Kamina is removed from the story, he's no longer in the opening, and that is a powerful emotional thing for people who are like watching the show.
Right.
In a similar way, that character has been in the opening with Yuji, like being friends in like some of the shots, and also in that same shot where they're like in this field hanging out being friends. As we met more characters in the show, in the opening, more characters appeared in that opening shot. I thought that was like a clever way to kind of like build out the world as the show goes on. Nothing fancy, but the core element there was always Junpei, our dark school shooter, and Yuji like being friends. So I was like waiting for that, and I'm like, okay, cool, there's gonna be this guy who joins the show, but he's fucking dead. Yeah. Maybe he'll come back and maybe they'll justify it, but knowing what I know right now, I kind of give it a little credit that it built on my expectations for friendship and subverted them by just fucking killing the guy in a horrible, brutal way.
I appreciate that on some level, but on the other level, the conversations that Yuji had with this kid were, let's go to the movies together sometime, and also like he goes to his house to hang out with them, and they like
and see a smoking hot mom,
they
smoking.
They meet the mom. They joke about movies for a while.
Yeah.
It was just odd to me because like I don't know enough about Yuji's character since we've never really seen him interact with anyone before.
Very
I
little.
never thought of him as like this just like friendly dude who would just like make friends with some guy and go to his house on the basis of them being like movie fans. Maybe this is just like, oh, we're finally learning about
consider
him.
his
but, like,
friendship with those two like rando club members at the beginning. Like he didn't seem to have that much in
I don't
common
even
with
remember
them. Doesn't matter. Episode 1 stuff, that's long in the past. But I agree that like the mom is introduced into the story. We hang out with her. I thought she was kind of funny, kind of liked her. Okay, like 5 minutes later, she's like dead and murdered and like out of the story.
So this is where things got really weird to me because it's like, so okay, mom character shows up. Yuji and the other kid are at the riverbank talking about movies, and mom comes up. First thing the kid says to her is, "I wish you wouldn't smoke, mom." She's like, "Oh, I'll stop."
So you can live a long, healthy life, mom.
I was like, odd time to bring this up, like right in front of your friend, just like immediately accosted. But she's like, "Oh, I'll stop smoking in front of you then."
Yeah.
Only to continue smoking when they get home. Then she's dead. So like, this is her whole character. Mom was smoking, son didn't want her to. That's her. But like, there's a scene when they're hanging out in the house where like, she tells him, "Oh, you don't have to go to school tomorrow. Kids your age are always taking things like too seriously." I'm like, does she talk to her son ever? Like, if this is her personality, why is he like this? Why has she never said, also, kids your age? No, they're not. It's just him. You just have a serious kid. It's not his fucking age.
This is the kind of like oblivious parent figure that like famously, the parents of the Columbine shooters, like one of those families dropped off the face of the earth and like ghosted because they were like, oh my fucking God, we're out of here. Don't want anyone to know that we're like associated with this. Even though it was like both seemed to have like relatively normal home lives as far as I can tell. The mom of the other kid, like the follower who wasn't supposed to considered like the ringleader, I can't remember their names really. She has like, her marriage like fell apart and stuff, but she has gone on like a world tour of like trying to be an activist against these kinds of things, maybe as a form of like redemption for herself. But the point is, like, those people really tortured themselves, and probably still do, for like, how did I not know? How could I not have like seen like the pain? Like, of course these parents would have wanted to help their kids if they really knew what was going on. They didn't fucking make this happen on purpose. But like, this mom is so oblivious to the pain her kid is feeling that mostly it makes me like mad at her for being such a shitty mom.
But she's not presented as an oblivious mom. Like it's not like we're not seeing her through that light.
Where's the father in the family? You need a fucking father figure, damn it. She's giving him everything. She's not asking anything of him, god damn it. That's
not.
I don't know. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe not.
Something there needed to be a little bit more to the relationship between them for it to be like
The whole relationship was like 2 minutes long, and then she's fucking dead. So
and the reaction to it is so minor. Like they each okay. So first of all, Yuji is just like told like, oh yeah, we fucking found that bitch dead, and then the scene of him I didn't even know she was actually dead at first because
they don't. I mean,
the son's reaction is like. He's got Mashimo or whatever sitting next to him, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, somebody must have slipped this cursed object into your house." And he's like, "How did this get in my house? I can't believe it." It's like your mom is dead, dude. This is way bigger than like the level of reaction that he has to it is just so bizarre.
By the way, really subtle that like one of the first things he says to like Mahito when they're hanging out, the guy's like, "Oh, what do you think about killing people?" He's like, "I don't really care. If somebody killed my mom, it sure would upset me."
That's
okay,
funny.
like I guess it's just one relative, but
so yeah, his mom gets killed. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, even though they make sure that she gets killed in like a horrifying way.
She gets her like legs bit off or something. We don't see
not
it. Not
entirely clear. There's ice packs on the top half.
They make it a point how there was no blood, but like why? Who fucking cares? Just
don't
let
know.
there be blood.
Maybe it'll be
murderer.
relevant later.
Well, it was
something.
clearly Mahito left. Like the bad guy did this to push him over the edge.
Right.
They left him like one of the fingers of Sukuna or whatever. And it murdered him. But he's framing it like, no, hey, do you know anyone who's like, might have a grudge against you or your family, setting up like the bully or whatever, even though he definitely, well, does he really think a fucking bully chopped off his mom's like lower torso and made it so 0 drops of blood spilled? No human would do that.
And I'm pretty sure there's only one person he's seen use crazy powers that can murder people horrifically, right? Like, he knew that Mahito was like a murderer, didn't he?
Well, he does know that he kills people.
Right.
By the way, did you know that in The Exorcist 3, there's a scene where a character is found dead and drained of all blood, left in like neat little jars next to their body, and not one drop of blood was spilled? Perhaps that was inspiration. I don't know.
A 3-foot catheter threaded directly into the inferior vena cava, or the superior vena cava. It's a matter of taste, I think, don't you? Then the tube moves through the vein, under the crease of the arm, into the vein that leads directly into the heart, and then you just hold up the legs and you squeeze the blood manually into the tube from the arms and the legs. There's a little shaking and pounding at the end for the dregs. It isn't perfect. There's a little blood left, I'm afraid. But regardless, the overall effect is astonishing.
I wrote down that this was everything I was afraid Chronicle would be. Have you seen the movie Chronicle?
No, I heard about it.
So Chronicle is basically like an incel school shooter gets superpowers type movie. But like in that movie, we've got a long period of like the kids like getting abused at home. He's like getting bullied at first, but he makes friends who, it's a more complex relationship he has with the friends that deteriorates into everything. And like, I had been afraid that movie was just going to be like, oh, I'm getting bullied, I'm going to murder everybody. that is what this is.
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah.
is, when I was going into Chronicle, all the fears of that movie, I was like, oh, actually, this is really fun and cool, and like these characters are likable. Everything I was afraid of that movie being is what this was. It's just this kid being a sniveling brat. I can't like him in any way. There's nothing likable about him.
He could have been friends with Yuji
Who
in another...
fucking cares? I don't
Yeah.
like Yuji in the first place. He's not a character. I keep pointing because I forget he's not on the
Now
screen.
this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this guy's fine.
all right.
Yuji has no personality other than whatever like is called for in that scene. You know, like, oh, he likes movies because that's what's gonna help him talk to this kid. You know, I liked the idea that he like offered him to like go to the movies together. It's like a fun.
That's fine. What are you,
friendship
gay, bro?
bonding.
Come on, bro. That's not cool.
But it's just, I really didn't care about this kid. And then like, so the mom dies, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then he gets transformed. I'm like, oh, okay.
So
well,
many
that's
fast,
that.
emotionally manipulative things happen really fast. And that's the thing. You can feel the hand of the author setting out these blocks spaced too tightly together and without enough like interesting things to make me care about the characters. And like, okay, once in a while you get like an okay thing like this guy's backstory, but most of it is not like that. It's just, it's
Well, and
so bare
why-
bones.
Like getting this guy's backstory at the time we did, like there's already like half an episode of him fighting the bad guy before that happens.
yeah.
And through that, I was like, neither of these characters do I care about. They haven't done anything. Like they've been established, but establishing a character isn't the same thing as having them do something that would make you care about them.
Yeah.
That fight could have been a chance for either one of them to do something that makes me care about them, but instead it just kind of explains their powers and then they fuck off. Then there's a whole lot of fighting that happens between all of our main characters here in this big bout, which also mostly just exists to like explain powers, and then everybody fucks off. They fight this motherfucker for 2 episodes and don't kill him.
Well, okay, but,
Good Lord.
to be fair, that is the thing is they already kind of did this. Like when Sukuna or whatever, like the possessing demon, I thought that was our like set up initial fight, and now it's gonna be like the real shit of like Naruto fighting his way up and getting more strong, and you know, like the fun stuff you kind of enjoy of like obtaining victories. But no, we actually have like another one of these like fighting the big villain at the beginning of the story so that when we fight him at the end, we can feel a sense of progression and growth. But like there's too many of those. And
It's too confusing where the power levels stand, because like this whole fight is trying to establish that like the demon inside Yuji is definitely stronger than this bad guy.
Yes.
So like that to me, finding that out already relieved enough of the tension that I thought, well, this guy can't be the main bad guy. And there's also a line where he says something about there being like somebody he answers to. So he's not the big bad. How can he live so fucking long? Like this battle seems like it exhausts like whatever. You know, like he pulls a few tricks out of his sleeve. He has to use strategy because he can't beat the other demon thing. But then in the end, like it seems like they beat him. It usually gives him some real big punches, and they got all the animation, and then he's still alive. And then they do another big attack on him with the animation, and he escapes. And it's just like, well, I don't like. If I had to rewatch those episodes, I would be so fucking annoyed to like watch them just punching him, knowing that it's not gonna do anything, like knowing that none of what I'm seeing matters at all.
I suppose that's fair. I can't blame you for feeling that way.
お前が死のうとお前が死のうとどうでもいい奴以外は心底どうでもいい
I don't know what's coming next. Actually, I do. The sports festival's coming next. All the characters are coming down from Kyoto or Tokyo. I don't know how Japan works, but characters are coming in from outside, so we're gonna like do a total detour to probably meet some more new Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers or whatever. So like, all right, fine.
Did you notice how none of the other characters showed up in this entire arc?
Yeah, I sure did.
They introduced those two. Remember that whole episode that was just to introduce 2 new characters to hang out with the black-haired Sasuke guy?
We're doing other things right now.
None of them have showed up. Why did they introduce them in the first fucking place?
To
I don't
be fair,
understand.
there was one of the like ending jokes they do at the end of an episode. There was one of these things was like making fun of how like Yuji is still alive and they don't know it, and all these things are happening, and they're
That
just
was the
like,
end of the last
Yuji's dead. Whoop-de-doop-de-doo.
Yeah.
At least they referenced it, because I sure think that's strange, that after all this shit is going on, like, half the people just don't know that Yuji's alive. Well, look, it's fine. It's not like a problem for the story. I just, like, what's it building to? A big epic moment where they, like, he's actually alive, and the characters put, like, a really funny face? Whoa! I don't care about that, man. Make me care about your fucking story. That's where the priority should be.
Here's a perfect back and forth of like the good and bad of the dialogue.
Okay.
So like I was saying, there's good black pills, right? Here's one. Right before he kills the emo kid, he says, "Sometimes deliberation can lead to worse foolishness than imprudence."
Yeah.
Good point.
Basically, don't get analysis paralysis. Yeah, sure.
This kid overthinks. That's his problem. And he tells him, like, you're as dumb as the people you think you're smarter than because you just have the opposite problem. Cool. Then there's a line where the Yuji says, I'm saying this from such a depth of my soul that everything else I've ever said is a lie by comparison. I will kill you.
He's really emotional right now.
The most emotional he's ever been in his entire life. He's
Well,
never cared about anything more than this kid
His
here,
friend
I guess.
was just murdered. That's a first for him. No one's been murdered in front of him before.
Just the way that he says it, like, just the level of, like, that's a line that could potentially be badass in a circumstance that this is not. Like,
I mean,
where I felt the same way he did, basically. Like,
that's supposed to be a really climactic emotional moment, obviously. It was fine. And I guess it touches on, there's another element going on in Yuji's head. And this is at least, it adds something to the action. It's that Yuji is now being confronted with the fact that he's using a foe that uses humans as weapons and as puppets, kind of like we saw a little bit in Chainsaw Man. And see, another great point of comparison. While Yuji deals with the fact that, like, I have to kill these people, but it's in kind of a, like, over-dramatic, saccharine, like, just very boilerplate standard, like, yes, I have to make some sacrifices, I have to be willing to kill at least, like, the enemies that are actively trying to kill me, or, like, I'll die and evil win, so blah, 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 which taints his soul probably a little bit. Compare that with the exact same message being done in Chainsaw Man, where the message is something far more interesting. It's the villain just saying, Denji, be the idiot. Literally lie to yourself so that you can get through the day. And I'm like, wow, I mean, they just came out and said it. That's kind of bold and good writing that they did that. So when you just, like, same trope, compare the way it's executed, this is just some of the most boring shit. I was saying that coming into this episode, I didn't even dislike these that much. There were elements that were kind of cool, but when you compare it to something else that's better written, it doesn't stand up super great.
I wrote, why is he stopping to explain what's happening? Because there's a scene where the bad guy, like, turns into a spike ball.
Yeah.
And he, like, shoots all his spikes out. And then the good guys, like, just kind of dodge the spikes and start chopping at him. And then there's a whole scene of the bad guy going, this technique didn't work very well. They just dodged it, and now they're chopping at me. I guess I'm going to try something else. And then he does. And I was like, we could tell. Like, I watched them dodge it. I watched them cut apart your parts. So if he had just transformed, I didn't need him to tell me what just fucking happened. It makes him look stupid.
That seems like the sort of thing that, you know, when you're writing a manga, that's like one little panel of him, and you, like, cram as much text in there as you want.
Right.
It goes down so much smoother in a manga format than in an anime.
That could be what that is. It could be something I wouldn't have thought about as much.
At any time, any little dialogue in an anime, it has to effectively take center stage for some amount of time. And if it's not, like, good enough, it's frustrating because it's a chronologically grounded work anime as opposed to a manga where you can do other shit. Do you have more to say about this shit, did you? I'm fucking getting more heated the more I think about it.
Many people will come to need you is a line someone says. That's just another aphorism.
Yeah,
they're like,
sure.
You have to be
a
mature
hero.
because people are going like, I don't know, like, was that not self-evident in like what's going? I don't know.
That's actually his
already a
entire
superhero,
motivation that his grandpa gave him when he died. You're strong. Defend people, Yuji. That's your whole... So, I mean, I think that's when he had this flashback and remembered his grandpa. Whatever, man. Jujutsu Kaisen, basically a 10 out of 10.
The show's boring and dumb. I hate the dialogue. Everything everybody says is trite and dumb. The emo kid was insufferable. I hated everything about him. Glad he's dead. His mom was fine. She died for no fucking reason, brutally.
Yeah.
Just nothing that happened in this had any effect on me. And again, the fact that, like, I still feel like the story is like on pause. It hasn't even really begun because most of the characters we were introduced to at the start have just been cast to the side.
We're getting more
waiting
Sukuna
around
fingers.
to find out that this dude's alive. And meanwhile, spends 4 episodes fighting a guy that he doesn't beat. So, like, we're basically back to square one, except he's a little more angry now, and we know what people's powers are.
There's been emotional development, Digi. That's essential.
What changed about him?
He is now willing to kill people that get in his way.
Wasn't he before?
No, that's a new one.
He couldn't kill anybody?
Well, he had never killed a human because he was like, oh, that'd be crossing the line. And now, because of the puppets that the guy uses, like his tools are human souls, you know?
Okay.
So now he's like willing to make some sacrifice. So he's like maturing in that way. That's something. That's one little thing.
Go read Chainsaw Man.
Read Chainsaw Man, everyone. Watch our episodes. Read along with us. It's
Chainsaw
fun.
Man is literally like a 10 out of 10, and
Yeah.
this is literally like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Like
Oof.
3, 4, maybe. There's nothing appealing in this show for me.
I'm feeling pretty
Nothing.
comfortable giving it a 5. Like the strength of the animation at times, which isn't like amazing, but it is good. Mappa does good work.
There's
you know?
no, like the fight choreography is just so uninteresting to me. It's like always just characters kind of running around walls or throwing each other through walls or through windows and stuff. And like the powers, like some of them are like, maybe spikes or something else, but like it's a lot of just punch. It's a lot of just like hit guy with thing, they go flying.
I think I approach my anime through the viewer of a manga reader, like fundamentally, because like those things about him like thinking, I like even if the choreography itself isn't like amazing, it's that we see in his mind that Mahito, the villain, like he is experimenting and like the idea of like, oh, there's a character here who's just like trying out new transformations.
Right.
I kind of like on a conceptual level, I enjoy the character like growing visually as he's doing that. That's like one of the pluses that I can appreciate, but that doesn't make on a visual level it more interesting. Right. Like how about when Yuji grabbed the rope that's Guy, but then he extended spikes through his hand. Hey, makes sense. Don't touch the guy, you'll get fucking stabbed. But is that like interesting on a visual level? Not, I mean,
No.
You decide, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
I think we've fully covered Jujutsu Kaisen. Luckily, episode 13 is like a perfect ending for this
It was
coverage.
almost presented like it was an end of a season.
I thought
or
this
something.
might be literally the end of the anime, but there's like 12 more episodes or something coming, so enjoy them, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, maybe when it's over, we might return to it or something.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Can the
I
people
don't-
take more of
I
our
don't think I'm
takes?
gonna. I mean, you were trying to be positive on this to some degree. You had some. You had some
Patrick
defense.
Bateman was in there. I like
just
that.
like. Okay, if you like this show, write the longest fucking comment you possibly can trying to explain it,
No,
because
sum
I
up your
don't
thoughts
get it at
concisely. All right, yeah,
like,
all right, go for it.
None of it appeals to me. None of it makes sense to me. I don't see it. Like, there's people with I understand it's difficult. It's difficult to explain why something is good.
Yeah.
I have challenged people to explain why something is good to me before, and they have convinced themselves it's bad in the process of trying. So
They reveal their position one way or another. I
really,
guess.
like, just, my job is to think too hard about these shows, not to sit back and enjoy them. This isn't a show I would typically think I was going to sit back and enjoy.
Yeah.
So if you're the type of person who would just like throw this on, sit back and enjoy it, like,
That attitude itself allows one to enjoy almost anything if you approach it that way, you know?
can be. I mean, if this,
What's the Demos famous line? Any show is a 10 out of 10 if you
just don't
ignore
think
the
about
bad
it at
parts.
all,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Classic example.
we'll see what people say. What is so appealing that it is worth, like, I don't need you to defend any of the negatives or anything I've brought up. Just what is good. That's what I want to know. I don't care about what's not bad in your opinion. Just what's good.
The ending song, the cool dances. That's about it.
I don't feel any of it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you heard it from us. That was some content. And you can get more bonus content by going to subscribester.com/content. $10 bonus episodes.
We're gonna
people.
need that
Do
money,
it.
all right? These negative takes don't pay
No,
the
the
bills.
algorithm don't like them. Also, follow us on Twitter, join the Discord down below, talk about stuff, and of course, send us some epic content clips where you show off your entire 20-volume stack of Jujutsu Kaisen volumes while saying content into the camera, and you could appear right here.
Content!